This is Paul Carr with TechCrunch TV. I'm joined by Jordan Kretchmer from Livefyre. Jordan,
how's it going?
Hello. It's going well.
Good.
Welcome to our new studio.
It's beautiful.
Do you like it?
It's an improvement.
So, our other one was a black room. It was a square black. The black hole of Calcutta would have been an improvement on the last one.
Exactly.
So, you have some news. You came all the way down from what, across the street to
like
tell us
3 blocks.
Yeah, to tell us some exciting news. Tell us some exciting news.
To tell you that we Livefyre closed our Series A funding.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How much money do you have?
We have $800,000.
Wow, so, that's a lot of money.
More than we had a few weeks ago.
And what kind of round is this? Angels? This is
it's a Series A. So obviously priced round.
Yeah.
It was led by Boris Putnik and Bobby Lentz from Hillspan Capital. Really great guys. Invested in Expensify and TuneWiki and Bleacher Report. They led those rounds as well, and really respect them, and they're really great guys.
Of course, they gave you $800,000. I imagine if somebody came up to me and gave me $800,000, I'd have nothing.
Well, they gave us most of it. So there were some angels too.
Right.
So we had participation from a great group of angels: Travis Kalanick and Paige Craig here in California, and then in New York, Jay Levy and John Frankel.
Okay.
Participated as well.
Nice mix.
So, yeah.
So we should start just in case, in the unlikely event that people haven't heard of Livefyre, the majority of people haven't heard of Livefyre. What the hell's Livefyre?
So
what do you guys do?
Yeah, Livefyre is a embeddable comment and conversation platform, real-time conversation and commenting platform. That's meant
so the difference between getting no money and 800,000 is those two words, real-time.
It's plenty of other things that we'll get to soon, but that is one of them. That is meant to replace your legacy comment system on your blog. Any sort of content that you may be producing. So
why?
Why?
Why would I replace my perfectly good, perfectly tried and tested thing with your brand new $800,000 in the bank thing?
So when we first started doing this, which was we bootstrapped for about 10 months before we closed it around, and as we looked at the conversation ecosystem online in general, it's extremely broken. It's been broken for a while, and everybody's sort of complacent with it. And it's broken in a lot of ways, and we really tried to get down to the biggest reason why. And we looked at, obviously the big guys. We looked at Twitter, we looked at Facebook's Open Graph, and to try to figure out why comment sections in particular and forums in particular feel broken, feel kind of old school. And the one thing that we landed on is this idea of connectivity. Okay. All of the conversations taking place around the web in comment sections and on content where the best conversations are actually happening are siloed. They're dumb to each other's presence. They don't know they exist. And so there can be 100,000 conversations happening right now about environmentalism around the web. None of them know that they exist. None of them know that other people are talking in those that might be.
So you have people on one blog comments list and discussing a story about environmentalism. You have one on another talking about environmentalism, but never the twain.
Right now, they just both go into their own little vortex, right? And so in looking at what Twitter does, that was really interesting to us, is that it focuses all of the content coming through it down a massive tunnel, right? And gives anybody sort of access to dive in and search real time what people are talking about. And so if you can imagine the entire internet, every comment section that's on Livefyre or conversation happening on Livefyre, feeding a similar kind of data through a giant tunnel, except outside the Twitter sphere, right? Which is
it's in the Livefyre sphere.
The Livefyre sphere, but it's a huge missing component of conversation in general. And so by connecting all of these conversations and making them aware of each other so that they can learn about other conversations that are happening. Learn you as a user, learn what you like to talk about, make recommendations for conversations that are happening around the web, thereby driving traffic to bloggers and to different sites just based on topics they're posting about. So
that's great, and that sounds awesome, and I could see why somebody would invest in that. For me, though, the great thing about being able to join together comments is the ability to, I think all commenters are freaks. I hate internet. I think the internet is every single last one of them.
I think I've ever seen you comment before. I think I might have.
Yeah, I'm one of those freaks. No, but the whole thing is this anonymity and trollishness, and the idea of if comment systems were joined together, the idea of somebody having an accountable presence. So Joe Schmo on site A is also Joe Schmo on site B and on site C, and it means that if they're a troll on one site, they become a troll on all sites. Because that's the problem with, in the real world, your reputation follows you around. It's hard to escape from. On the internet, it's easy. So presumably, reputation is also shared.
Huge. So and it started off with this, because we're posting comments in real time. So all of the comments that post are posted, and images and videos that are posted in the stream show up live for everybody. Every other conversation or comment platform. Even some of them have live in the name, not to mention names. But it's actually pulling a database every 45 seconds to a minute and then dumping new comments in. Livefyre literally, it's built on chat technology. It's built on XMPP, which is iChat, GChat, Jabber stuff. So everything is literally happens live for every user.
So wait, now the freaks can get to market quicker.
That brought on a lot of conversation on our end of well, how do we mitigate trolls,
the huge amount of damage you're going to do to the internet by allowing
hateful, mean people who suck, right? And so we came up with this idea of pre-moderation, and other comment systems call pre-moderation, hey, I want to see all the comments before they're posted. Well, for somebody like you guys and plenty of other publishers out there, you don't want to pour through hundreds of comments that you guys get in order to weed out the bad ones. It's a pain in the ass.
Yep.
And so we came up with this system, our version of pre-moderation, which is looking at a user's reputation from past conversations, from other social networks they're connected to, using clout to determine whether this user is how legitimate they are, or if they're legitimate at all, if they're even a human.
Precogs, like in the Minority Report, deciding whether they might commit a comment crime in the future. Maybe you could plug that in somehow.
Somebody tells me you're actually working on that somewhere.
Yeah, it's my startup.
And so by looking at user reputation cross-domain, cross-site, we can give bloggers tools to pre-filter. So you can actually say, for this particular blog post, you have to have a reputation of X or higher.
Now, reputation is thumbs
up, thumbs down. So we have two forms of moderation, like, and we call it burn. Really clever. Right?
Yeah, I say Livefyre.
Right, you got it.
Got it. Brilliant.
So we want to be really careful though, because a lot of times this turns into a hate fest, right?
Well, also a lot of time this is given. My biggest issue is something like, and there was a discussion about this on like Hacker News or something. Is the problem with the thumb up as a reputation is that people often enjoy trolls. Or if somebody, or like what this actually means is I find this person's comment, I agree with this person's comment. Now that could still be trollish. Like, so I think Jason Calacanis said something about this where he was like, people who don't like Jason Calacanis, every comment he puts, they'll thumb it down.
Right.
People who really like him, every comment he puts will thumb him up. It's completely irrelevant as to, they could be, the person doing the comment could be a troll. How do you get around that? How do you avoid this just being fanboys or hate?
So I think, I would say the masses are always right. In mass,
if history has shown us anything, it's the masses are always right.
In niche communities, I don't think that's necessarily as true. So we've done a couple things. One, anybody can like a comment, and liking a comment increases that user's reputation. As we grow, we're already looking at ways to implement a much more meaningful algorithm. Who are you that liked this comment?
Yeah.
If your reputation is higher, that's worth more as a like. If your reputation is lower, it's worth less or nothing, right? And so a like, depending on who you are, might become more or less meaningful in the near future. So we're going to do this as we grow our network. At first, we want people being actively participating.
Yep.
So the other really important thing that we've done is looked at the thumb down and said it's a really, really bad indicator of whether the comment is good or the person just disagrees with it, right? And so it actually is going to cost you a reputation point to burn a comment, okay? And so it literally is reserved for haters, trolls, inappropriate.
People are going to think twice before thumbing down.
You're going to thumb down, and it's going to say, hey, this is going to cost you a reputation point, but it's for the good of the community. If this is bad, thumb it down, right? And so you can, and anybody can thumb down a comment, but there's a little bit of a give and take there, right?
And the people presumably who have contributed the most will have the most points to give away, so therefore, and so on. That's okay.
Right.
That's interesting. I still think the freaks always find a way to game this stuff. I mean, you're hugely optimistic. I think it would cost more than $800 million to fix this problem. So
well, we're going to do our little part.
Yeah,
we're going to do our best.
That's all. That's all any of us can do.
And another important point is that we don't believe that anonymity is better than non-anonymity. We believe that it's about accountability, which is really, really important. In other words, I might want to post a comment on a political, site. But I don't. It's a relevant, smart comment. But or coming from me, it's probably dumb. But still, it's not hateful. It's not a troll comment.
But you still don't want to put it under your own name.
I just don't want it associated with me. So
you're a coward, essentially. You don't have that much belief in your. You don't stand behind your beliefs. Yeah, you wouldn't die for them. You just encourage others to do it. People do. I've heard tell.
So any comment you can choose to post anonymously. There's a little button right by the post button, post anonymously. When you do that, it again takes a reputation point away from you, right? But at the same time, it posts the comment without anything about you, without your score of that commenter. It's just literally blank, right, except for the comment. But any rating, any sort of reaction that happens to that comment is against your reputation. right? And so it's a way of holding people accountable, but still giving them the ability to be anonymous in
neat.
certain forums. And that's really, really important.
Now, I mean, last question, this has just raised a question in my head. That's obviously that anonymity is great, but then you're opening yourself up to liability. You're going to get subpoenaed to hell with that sort of stuff, right?
I haven't even thought about that.
You should probably think about that. You want to spend some of that money on some lawyers, because like, if you're the ones guarding the anonymity, somebody's going to post something that's libelous, somebody's going to post something that's national security or whatever. I mean, we've just seen WikiLeaks. We see the minute you're the guardian of anonymity, you're the guy who the FBI and the CIA come knocking every day, and they're going to subpoena the hell out of you. So you're presumably not going to be able to reassure users that you're going to guard this anonymity. It's only really for people who are kind of low level.
I'm going to leave here and call. I'm going to call
probably make a call
out the door. And ask them why they haven't talked to me about it.
So that kind of answers my next question, which was my final question, which is what are you going to spend the $800,000 on? What does that do?
So we are growing our team.
How many are you now?
So right now we are 5. We're about to be 7. So we hired 2 awesome engineers, and who are making their way here in the next couple of weeks. And to join our team of engineers already is Justin Carnegas, who's our CTO, Chris Becker, who's our lead engineer, and then the only other one that doesn't code is Jenna Langer, and she's our community manager / kind of does everything. She's great.
Wow.
So the other thing, sort of the last point, unless you have any more questions that I want to talk about. Is
best job interview ever. It's like I'm sure you have more questions. No, go on. You lead the interview, Jordan. I'll just sit here. Go on.
Thanks.
No, right. One other thing you wanted to talk about
is lowering the barrier to entry, right? So there's always the 99-1 rule. 99 people will participate, or sorry, 1 person will participate, 99 won't.
Yeah.
We want to do everything we can to increase that level of participation, not just with comment voting and reputation.
Yeah.
And
like
which is kind of fun.
98.2, 97.3.
Yeah, more like 95.5.
Wow.
Can we do that?
That's
I don't know.
mind
we can try. It's ambitious.
My mind just played.
So in addition to like comment voting, which is pretty sticky and it spreads live across the web, so your reputation ticks up and down across every conversation you've ever been in, which is cool. We have a concept called conversation check-ins. We obviously did not invent the concept of check-ins.
No, you did not.
But we love this idea of me coming to a site, liking the content, wanting to tell all my friends that I'm here, checking in, and it broadcasting if I wanted to my Twitter, my Facebook, to my Livefyre, friends, and all of that, which is pretty cool. And the other sort of, I said this last thing, it wasn't, is in spirit of like connecting all of these conversations together. We have adopted, @replies or mentions. So anywhere.
I'd say, if nothing else, this interview is a masterclass for any entrepreneurs thinking about pitching, trying to sort of get towards a sort of Series A. They're thinking, how do I raise money in this climate? You've mentioned Twitter, you've mentioned check-ins, you've mentioned real times and streams. This is, if nothing else, is incredible. I'm going to cut you off there. Jordan Kretchmer, thank you very much from Livefyre.com.
All right, thanks, Paul.
Thanks.